Today was rough. I had a battle with the ego again that I didn't see coming, and I just wanted to talk about it because, as promised, I will share my experience, whatever it is, and maybe people will resonate, maybe it will help, I don't know. So, the ego snuck back in, and I didn't notice. So, I started feeling kind of disingenuous on here for the last few videos, not because I was lying or anything. I just felt a little bit off and like I wasn't interested in sharing. I've been feeling like maybe I need to step back and go back into silence a little bit, and I see why now, that I was being led because something was off, and that's what I'm here to share. Oh, the ego is so sneaky. It is so sneaky. So I'll give a backdrop to the story. What happened today was pretty intense, but I will kind of share what happened to me a few months ago in case anyone's new on here, so I can kind of lead into the story, will make more sense. So I started doing YouTube. I made a couple videos, wasn't that into it, and just thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't do YouTube. So I made one last video, and that was going to be it. Right before I had a significant ego death, and it was wild. Everything went crazy, bad, insane. Just had a huge existential crisis. I didn't know it at the time, but it was my identity shifting from being identified with the ego to being identified with nothing, the knowing, the divine, whatever you want to call it. So that separation is rough. It's like you are getting ripped out of your ego, or your ego's getting ripped out of you, whatever you want to call it. And wow, it's not an easy process. Anyway, afterwards, just like instantly almost, it was just, I lived in a new state, and I had more peace and more just feeling of everything is absolutely okay. This is amazing. I suddenly had everything I ever wanted. I wasn't rushing. I had no anxiety. I had nothing to accomplish. All my goals just got thrown in the trash. Like everything was absolutely okay and perfect in every moment. Now that was new. I did not expect that. I didn't know that was going to happen. So naturally, I got excited and I wanted to get back on YouTube and share. And I did. And in my first, 5, 10, 15 videos, I was sharing pretty honest, pretty genuine, and just kind of sharing my experience of what happened, hoping that it would resonate with people or help people going through the same process. And that was fine. But what I was trying to explain, and what I still try to explain, is so unknowable and unnameable that words just don't work. Words don't do it justice. So when you're trying to explain something that is like outside of 3 dimensions, outside of time and space, and then you have to use 3-dimensional language in time and space to try to describe it, it doesn't work. So the best thing people can do trying to describe this stuff is just kind of use analogies or metaphors or like pointers, but it's so challenging. Anyway, fast forward. My last, 10-ish videos, I've noticed I've been using the word awakening a little more than usual, and I didn't know this at the time, but my ego started liking that. Now, awakening to me doesn't mean anything. It's a word. It's a word that I chose to describe something because it seems like the most appropriate word. And other people that describe an awakening seem to be describing the same thing that I am attempting to describe. And the same thing happened with the word non-duality, which I even use as a hashtag, and I've been debating dropping that because I found some channels talking about non-duality and read a few books where the concept is in there, and it seemed like to me that they were describing something really similar to what I went through. And I didn't know it at the time, so that's why the ego is sneaky. I didn't even notice. It just happened under the radar. That it started liking the words awakening and non-duality, and I started slowly attaching to these words I was using. Not what was behind them, not the unknowable that I'm trying to use words to explain. That's what I live from. That's what I love it. That's what I feel all the time now. Well, the ego snuck in and grabbed those words. And I started subtly identifying with those words. Now, I know all this stuff, but I didn't see it, so it doesn't matter. I missed it. So I started getting less satisfied with sharing. And I started kind of feeling a little bit of a struggle, which I haven't felt in a long time. And when I had a major significant identity shift or ego death or whatever you want to call it, there was symptoms. And some of those same symptoms started happening again. That's when I knew something was wrong. So one of the symptoms of the dark night of the soul led into the existential fear, and then the ego, just like that separation. The last couple days of that was so intense. I would call it a mild psychosis. I got to the point where I wasn't even sleeping. I was waking up so much. It was like every 10 or 20 minutes I would jump out of bed, just like my body was in fight or flight. I was panicked with like the feeling of impending doom, like I was about to die. Found out later it's like the last fight the ego puts up because it knows it's about to not be necessary or not be the leader anymore. So, after that happened though, I've had more peace and just lived in a completely beautiful, awesome state that I've never experienced previously. Until last night or the night before, whenever this happened, I had the same thing start happening. I woke up multiple times in the middle of the night with, it's more of a sense than like words, but it was a sense and a feeling, and I knew what it was about. It was about non-duality, and the sense was like, stop, this isn't it. I'm not saying that it's wrong. This is just what was happening to me. I think it was the divine intelligence kind of showing me, hey, you're getting attached to this thing. So, so I went to work today knowing this is not good. Something has snuck in. Something's wrong. Doesn't feel right. So I called a friend of mine, my good friend, Yogi Kai. If you're watching, thank you. And he does what he always does to me, every time I call him. He's older, he's been through this same process, similar process, and he's got more experience. So naturally, he just laughs at me and tells me it's going to be fine. Meanwhile, I'm struggling, I'm irritated, I'm telling him, no, man, this is what's happening, freaking out. And he just is amused by my freakouts. Anyway, he always reminds me that it's not a big deal and to just be present, so it's helpful. So there I am, at work, starting to see and feel the reality of I'm attached again. Subtle attachments snuck back in. And I missed it, I didn't see it. I was mad about it, and I was kind of embarrassed, although nobody knows about it except now because I'm talking about it. There I was, at work, in a business that really attracts a lot of rough, tough kind of guys. And I'm doing my job. I paint cars for a living. I'm in the booth painting a car, and my body is doing what my body does. It's muscle memory. I'm not thinking about it. And I'm painting a car. I've got a suit on. I got a respirator on. And my soul started doing what it needed to do. And I am weeping. I am crying at the same time that I'm painting a car. It's the, if anybody saw it, there's windows in the booth. People can walk by. They'd be like, what is happening in there? This guy's crazy. There I am, being tough. No, I don't really care about being tough. It's funny, when you're just genuine and weird things like that happen, I mean, honestly, it's all it's brought from other men I've noticed is more respect. I couldn't even tell you why. Anyway, I had to grieve another attachment. It's wild. It wasn't like the dark night of the soul, like my ego dying. That was really intense. I lived in this state of peace and not bliss, but just really comfortable with every moment. I started to get kind of frustrated, a little, restless. And it was because the ego snuck back in. It just snuck back in there and just attached to these words like, oh, you're awakened. Oh, you're in non-duality. Look, awakening is a word to try to describe something that's undescribable. It's just a word. I wouldn't even tell somebody, oh, I'm awake. I just don't know what other word to use if we're using language. Now, if I stay in the unknown and try to describe with dualistic language what people call non-duality, or the experience of non-dual, the oneness, that's fine. The problem happened that I didn't notice until today is the words I was using to describe it are what I started becoming attached to. So instead of the thing being described, I was starting to attach to the description. And that's what ego does. Ego wants labels. It wants easily definable terms. It wants structure. It wants black and white. Reality doesn't work that way. These inner shifts that happen, awakenings, enlightenment, whatever people want to call these things, they don't work that way. They're circular, they're wild, they're random. They're not a linear step-by-step process. It's not easily definable. There's a lot of gray area. Sometimes you go forward, sometimes you go backward. Sometimes there's no forward or backward. So, yeah, I was debating, honestly, quitting YouTube a few times here and there because I just thought, man, I don't know if this is helpful. I don't know if people even want this experience, and if they are having it, is what I'm saying even beneficial? And it's strange because I honestly thought that awakening was an event or like a permanent state. And like once you had a shift or once it happened for you, like that's it, you're done. But what I have found through experience is that's not the case. There does seem to be a giant shift when you disidentify with thoughts or you have an ego death experience, as people call it. But then from there, it seems like that's just the beginning. So, as I've learned, attachments can still come up, really subtle, on accident. It's not like I got really prideful or was being obnoxious, but there were just little attachments. And every time there's an attachment, you can't be in the presence, in the present moment, in the presence. It's because you're adding a layer on top of it. Attachments add a layer on top of reality so you can't live in and see reality clearly. Now, it seems like awakening's the tip of the iceberg, and then there may forever just infinitely be deeper and deeper levels, and more attachments are let go of. I also used to think that life was a roller coaster until you awakened and then it smoothed out. I don't think that's true either. It appears to be still a roller coaster, but with every up and down, you start to see that, well, this is just how life works. There's no escaping it, so you might as well just start to enjoy it. Now, I'm not enjoying it yet, the downs or the high up. Like sometimes it's like too intense and I still flail around and freak out. But it seems that if we are just able to feel and be okay with all of it, then there's just a continual upward trajectory that everything is moving, growing, getting better, deepening. And being honest about it is not something that I've seen a lot. I see a lot of leaders in the spiritual realm grow and gain a huge following and fall to the same human flaws that a lot of them fall to. They develop this spiritual ego where they are the ones that have the truth, or they end up, becoming really loose with sexual desire and going down that road. We've all seen that with all sorts of different ways. Or just becoming too famous and not being able to handle the power. Like the ego loves all this stuff. I like my little small following that I have on here. It keeps me humble. I don't want a huge following. I just want to help a few people. Yeah, today was humbling. I often, when I'm paying attention to my thoughts, identified with them or not, they're still there. So sometimes I tune in just to see what's happening. And a repeated thought cycle that happens in my head, I don't know if it happens with other people, is I've noticed I always think that I'm a little bit farther than I really am. I used to think I was way farther spiritually than I am. Now it just seems like I'm always a step or two ahead in my thoughts. But then in reality, what's currently happening, I am not. And if the thoughts keep going and they get if I start getting attached to the thoughts of, I'm doing pretty good spiritually, life humbles me every time. Today seemed like a battle between my ego and divine intelligence, and luckily, the ego did not win. And if it took me 37 years to just finally disidentify from the ego, this last little shift only took a month, so I guess I'm doing okay. But it's just, nobody's perfect. Nobody knows. We don't need teachers or gurus. We all just need to share with each other. I view everybody watching, or anyone that I watch, as an equal. We're equal. That's what this process does for you. It shows you how human, how primal, how connected, how unknown everything truly is. And the minute we attach to something, it could be so subtle. Just a word. Mine was just a couple words I was starting to attach to. We're going to eventually have to let go of that stuff. So yeah, it was rough today. I didn't like it. It wasn't fun. Once I noticed it and released it, though, which is getting easier with practice, I snapped right back into the baseline, which I've almost forgot about. I haven't experienced it for a couple weeks. The peace and the movement of life is so profound that after I released this today, I went to the grocery store and it was just like I was in a heavenly realm. It's just hard to explain. It was beautiful, and nothing even happened. I was just getting bread. But I was there, and I was present, and I was feeling the divine love that just comes through your body when there's no attachments blocking it. Oh. Yowza. Feels good. Oh. Okay. There's my honest update. Thanks for watching.